25 years ago, I received a call. I wasn't living in Abilene at that time. We were living in Lubbock, and received a call from a common friend out of Dumas, Texas, and they talked to our missions pastor, who then brought me in on this phone call. And little did I know at that time how that call would impact my life, my family, and eventually so many others. And honestly, it was scary. I was a children's pastor back then, and that's what I did for many, many years. And so I did know how to minister to children. What I did not know how to do was take a team to some foreign country that I had never been at. That much I did not know what to do, and it was an uncertain situation, and it was unfamiliar to me for sure, and I had no preparation for what was about to take place. But it was one of those moments. I remember sitting in my office, and Diane Monteith and I were she was just outside of my office when we got this call, and we began to talk about this many years ago. And so, I was sitting out there, and it was one of those moments when I got the call and the question was out there, and I knew that the Lord was saying to do it, but it was certainly out of my comfort zone. But I knew that I had to trust him in this unknown place and to say yes in obedience to what the Lord is asking, even when I didn't fully understand what I was saying yes to, and I didn't have a full picture. So I want to just give you a little bit of, Rebecca, if you'll put that first picture up, show you a little bit. That first year, I was 38 years old. I had a little more hair back then. And, Geoffrey did too. Geoffrey had more hair. All right, let's look at another one. And it looks pretty much the same. He's got a little less. He's got a little less hair now. All right. I look way better there. I do have more hair there. What's that next one? I think there's a picture of us all at Costa Brita. How fun is that? Those are back in the day. Is there one more maybe? Yeah. I think that's outside of Vinda and Angela's. Is it? No, I don't know where that's at. But anyway, we were young then. I, at that time, was younger than what Geoffrey is today. It's fun to talk about. But here was the deal. What did I know about leading a mission trip? I can assure you absolutely nothing. I knew nothing about bringing, I think we brought 18 people over that first year, it seems like. I think there were 18 of us. I knew nothing about leading a mission trip. I couldn't pronounce the names correctly. I couldn't even spell them. Like, I'm going to give you just for instance. The one that has stumped me for 25 years is Cuiva. There's no F, there's no V in there. Why in the world do you say Cuiva? And, it's a Texan probably, and it's an American. I would have started with Q, not C. But anyway, and then that very first camp, there was a little girl sitting on the very front row, and we were over in the FDYS building, and she raises her hand at the end of maybe like the second day. It didn't go all week. But she raised her hand, I think it was about the second day, and she looks at me, and she's obviously heard the Texans say y'all. And it was her first time, I think, to have ever heard y'all. And so she raises her hand, and she says to me, "What does y'all mean?" And I was like, well, what does it mean? It's just, and I said, well, I think it means you all, And I said, what would you say? And she would say, we'd say you all, or we would say yous, but we wouldn't say y'all. And then anyway, but every day after that, at the end of the day, because one of the things we would say at camp back then is, hey, y'all come back tomorrow. Make sure you're here at, whatever time. And so every afternoon after that, she would say, y'all come back tomorrow. So we had a lot of fun, but that simple yes, the very first yes that year is what's led to 25 years of relationship with this church and with this family and with many of you. How many of you were here 25 years ago when we started? I remember there was a few of you. We were here. We did it together. You were a child. You were a child back then. We've seen lots of changes over the years. We started out camp at the FDYS, and some of y'all were there with us, and then we moved to Costa Brita, and that's another one. Why is it spelled like that? I was like, oh, that first year I remember telling my team, we're going to go to Colosta Bride. I don't know. But then we moved to their Astroactive. So we've done all kinds of, we've done it all. We've held church gatherings at the FWIS, in hotels, at West Point, the Water Point Leisure Center. We, over on Irish Street, and 2 houses joined together to make one big room. But anyway, and now here we are. And we stayed in homes, many of your homes. We stayed in Toss and Ina Brennan's flat, which was quite the experience. We stayed at a hostel by the waterfront, and then we stayed in hotels through all these places. God has been faithful, and we've been blessed to be a part of your lives for all of these years. God has been good, and to be a part of what he is doing here in Enniscorthy. All along the way, God has been calling people. He's called people from Alive Church, and he's called people from Beltway Park to come and to partner with what he wanted to do. And every step and every connection, every relationship has all been a part of his plan. Zechariah 4:10 says this, do not despise the day of small beginnings. Many of us started out in that little small room upstairs at the FDYS. God takes something and he begins, even out of the small. That was his beginning place for what he wanted to do here at Alive Church. Those early days were days filled with training, learning, and if we're honest, some trial and error. We found out through the years there were some things that didn't work well. We don't do those again. But God saw something in us, in all of us. There was a willingness to say yes. There was a willingness to partner with him in what he wanted to do here. Look what God has done with your yes. He's building a church. He's building a movement here in Enniscorthy. I love actually seeing people sitting on the floor because this really is our story of Beltway Park. That there was a day that we were crammed into a room like this, and our younger people, those under 50, sat on the floor. They sat on the stage. They sat in the choir loft. It wasn't a room much bigger than this, and we just did what we had to do because God was doing something, and people are drawn to that. When the Holy Spirit is moving and doing things in people's lives, people are drawn to it. So get used to sitting on the floor, Alive Church. The Lord is gracious to give us opportunities to say yes. We first say yes to him when he offers us the gift of salvation. And we say yes to baptism, and then we find ourselves. And by the way, all of you who've been baptized this year, congratulations. That is awesome. I love hearing those testimonies. It's been incredible. But then, after we've said yes to salvation, we've said yes to baptism, we say yes to, Lord, how can I support what you're doing? I want to give, and then I want to serve. I want to be a part of what God is doing. But, saying yes isn't always easy. There are yeses that even to this day that I struggle with. For instance, just this very week, I went on, maybe Wednesday, I went to this medical facility and got an IV and full of vitamins and stuff. And I usually do that before I travel overseas. And, I'm getting this shot, and it's no issue. I walk in, and there's several seats in there, and people are all getting these IVs. And there's a gentleman in there, and he says, hey, Pastor Randy, and I did not know who this guy was. And so he introduced himself, and it had been a number of years since he had been in, but he still kind of watches us online and stuff. And so I sit down next to him, and we start chit-chatting, and he begins to tell me that he's got cancer. And the cancer that he has, going through all the chemo and everything, is just messing up with his veins, and that nurse is poking him and poking him and poking him. I've already got mine in, and my bag is going, and he's still sitting there, hadn't even begun to get the IV in. His veins, roll or they collapse, and they're trying, and the nurse is saying, do you want me to keep trying? And he goes, let's give it another minute, let's try, And the whole time, I'm sitting there thinking, I need to pray over him and her. But that is just one of those things, I can stand up here and pray with you because we're all here to do that. But like in those environments, it's always a struggle for me. And this is what I get paid to do. So that's not really very good. And this man knows me. He's a believer. It's not like I'm not praying with some random stranger on the street, And I wrestled with saying yes to the Lord. And I felt like he kept saying, pray with this man. And I was like, I don't want to. What if he doesn't want to be prayed for? Or what if this nurse thinks I'm crazy or whatever, And so I just finally said, I got to pray, And so I said, hey, let's just pray about that. And it wasn't even a long prayer. I just said, Lord, help her find the right vein to get this IV in. And I am not joking. It just happened like this. And she goes, we're in. And so anyway, it was such a sweet moment. And yet I was in such a place really of disobedience because I knew God was saying to do it. And I wasn't saying yes. And I don't even know why. It's way easier for me to say yes to come into Ireland every year than it was for me to sit next to that man and pray for him. A yes isn't always easy. But a yes, God always honors the obedience. He always honors obedience. And so we get done. I get done with my IV. He gets done with his. And then the three of us sat there and just prayed, gave thanks that the Lord helped her to find that, the vein to get that IV in. And then we just prayed healing over his body, over the cancer. So God is faithful when we say yes, and he honors our places of obedience. So you Irish love your sport of hurling, don't you? But I want to ask you a question. Who is it that scores? It's not the ones that find themselves sitting in the stands and cheering others on or on the sidelines. It's the one who get in the game. That's the one who scores. So bless you, Alive Church, for all the years you've said yes and every time that you've been willing to get in the game. But God isn't finished yet. He's going to give you more opportunities to say yes to him, to partner with him in what he wants to do in your families and in your communities, your villages, your county. I loved seeing that you're praying for your county. God, that's a first yes right there. Is Lord, I'll commit just to pray. I'll commit to pray for this. And like me, you know what? You're going to find some of the yeses are going to be more difficult than others. But he will honor your yes always.
Beltway group. Randy talked about that first year and that we stayed in Tossinina's flat. What he didn't say, and how good you have it. So you're staying at the Riverside. We shared bathwater. That year, I had to shower after my father every night, and it was the most disgusting thing ever. And it was. I still have nightmares. I need freedom. Sherry, I need freedom from sharing my father's bathwater. And you weren't even in here, so now you're really confused at that reference. And I love, too, that it is this place, it is in Ireland, and it is with my immediate family, with my mom and my siblings, that I am still Randy's son. No one calls me that. And I mean that. It really is a place of honor, is that at this point, because of what God's doing in our world, I very rarely am Randy's son. We've worked opposite of one another for a long time. And we step in this place, though, and it doesn't matter that I've been here 15 times. He's still been here 25. And he still holds that place of honor here. And so I love that you called him that, because that is at this point, it doesn't happen a ton anymore, and yet still here he is. I am still Randy's son. And so if you have anything at 3 o'clock in the morning, you go to his room, not mine, okay? Not my problem. I am honored to get to be here. I have grown up in Enniscorthy. It feels like I've been coming here since I was 14. And the revelation that I am now older than my dad when we first came here was jarring. It has hurt my feelings all week long. But I was thinking this week about what I wanted to share in this little bit of time that I have. And the Lord took me back to a story from when Sarah and I first got married. So we've been married 19 years at this point, but in this time, we had just gotten married. We were staying in a little tiny one-room apartment. And I'm a newlywed. It is like everything's great. Everything is sunshine and roses. And Sarah's the greatest human being that's ever been born. And I mean, everything's awesome. And I'm dead asleep one night, and I hear a scream from the bathroom. And it is, there are different screams. There's like a, oh, something scared me scream. And then there's the, oh, somebody's murdering me scream, okay? It was the murder scream, and she is screaming with force. And so I do what a husband, I am going to be the knight in shining armor. I am going to rescue my wife from the intruder or from the snake or whatever. I am so excited. It's my first moment as a husband to get to rescue her. I'm going to swoop in, and it's all going to be great. And so I jump out of bed, and I'm going to run into the bathroom and try to find Sarah and save her. And I put my feet on the ground and immediately realize that I have slept all night long with my right leg off the bed. And so it is completely asleep. And so I jump out of bed, ready to rescue my wife, and I collapse onto the floor. Meanwhile, the whole time, Sarah's in the back going, help, 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 and I am laying on the floor. And so I get up, and I'm like, okay, I've got it. I'm going to save her. And I drag my leg, and so these glasses are not fashion glasses. I desperately need them. But in the journey, I hadn't thought, grab your glasses, moron. And so I have 1.5 legs and no glasses. And Sarah's screaming in the background. And I am so now things are getting dicey, like things are getting uneasy. And so I'm running to her screaming, one leg, no sight, and I smoke the couch. And I hit the couch going so fast, I roll over the couch onto the coffee table that we had right there, and I smash my other leg. So now I've got 2 legs, but really only one functional leg. And so I now am dragging my blind, bruised self all the way into, the whole time Sarah's screaming, okay? This feels like it went on for about 10 minutes. It was probably like 30 seconds, but it felt like so long. And I get in there to my new, beautiful bride. She looks up at me and she goes, I'm about to throw up. Will you hold my hair back? And I will be, just as this is raw, and a pastor shouldn't ever say this, I wanted to shove her head into that toilet so bad. I wanted bad things for her in that moment. But I didn't. I held her hair back. And to this day, for the record, 19 years in, she's never held my hair back, but it's not generally a Geoffrey issue. And I was thinking about that story this week because the whole reason that moment, that felt so crazy was because everything was dark. Like, we were in the middle, okay, we are staying in the country. This apartment is in the country. And y'all get dark around here. And where we live, if you're in a neighborhood, you always have some light. There's a car passing by. There's light all the time. But when you live in the country dark is a different dark. When it gets dark, it is dark. And when we were out there, we were living way out where we were, and this is all going on, and I can see nothing. And so the possibilities in my mind were endless. It was, there is an intruder, there's a snake, she's fallen and hurting herself, something is going on, and you can begin to feel when you're in dark places, you can begin to feel the snowball of anxiety and worry and stress. And I began to think about that story this week because I thought, that is a pretty good description of the world we live in right now. Again, the world feels not swell. I mean, it is a dark world right now. Whether we like it or not, there is so much difficulty and stuff in our world, and darkness makes things feel so different. Like, think about that moment when I'm dragging my 1.5 legs and blind self into the bathroom. Just a smidge of light, one little light would have changed everything. I would have seen the couch. I wouldn't have hit it going, as fast as I could go with one leg. I would have seen that the door was locked, so obviously an intruder wasn't there. I would have been able to make my way over there without going through all that I went through. All it took is just a little bit of light, not much, just a tiny bit of light would have changed everything. And we recognize this in our lives. We know in our own lives the impact of light. It's why when we have kids and they get a little bit scared, we give them a night light, because all it takes is that one little light to give them the comfort and peace to know that they are okay and there's not a boogeyman, there's not somebody coming out of their closet. None of us in here would ever get to the place that we would go, oh, physical light doesn't matter yet. In our life, in the way we often live our life, we will recognize the importance of physical light, and we will diminish the reality that we need spiritual light in our lives. That every single one of us needs to have a light of the Spirit in our lives as we function, as we go from our day to day, because the world is getting worse and it's not getting any better. And I wish I could stand up here and give you some hope and go, guess what? It's going to get better. It's not. Until Jesus, we live in the time between when Jesus came as a baby and to the time Jesus will return. He's going to come. He's going to be a warrior when he returns, set up his kingdom. He's going to have a tattoo on his thigh. He's going to have a sword in his hand. He is going to be ready to go. That's scriptural too. So he is going to be ready to go. But we live in between those two times. And until Jesus returns, things are going to get really dark. This is how Psalms describes it. They have neither knowledge nor understanding. They walk about in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are shaken. That feels like what the world feels like. Walking around in darkness, neither knowledge nor understanding. The foundations of the earth are shaken. And maybe you're sitting there, you're like, I liked Randy's talk better. Like, yours feels a little heavy. Here's what's beautiful. You can actually do something about the darkness in Enniscorthy. Like you can do something about the darkness in Wexford. You can have an impact. If the world is getting dark, and it is going to be dark, it's going to continue to get dark, and it feels dark, but you actually, in who you are, can go into all of these places, and you can do what light does. Light always pushes back darkness. Light brings peace. Light brings comfort, all those things. And you can carry that into Enniscorthy in County Wexford, because this is what Matthew says. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Notice 2 times Matthew says this word. You or your. You know what that means? It means you. When he says you, he means you. He says, you are the light of the world. You are. That is who we are supposed to be. You get to go into the dark places, and you get to be light. He doesn't say it's just for the super Christians, okay? It's just for the Indas. Like, Inda's great. He's never said anything mean in his whole life. The Inda is the light of the world, right? Rebecca, she's a saint. Damien's Damien. But yeah, like you are. I had to get one dig in on you, buddy. Love you. Known you for 25 years. You are the light of the world. And we don't do that on our own. Like, I can't be my own light. But what's beautiful is that Jesus said this. Jesus spoke to them saying, I'm the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Jesus says, yeah, you get to go into the world and be light. You get to carry light into dark places because of what Jesus did in you. When you've said yes to Jesus, everything shifts. Jesus is the one who brings the light, but when we follow him, he goes, you get to take that. When you go to school, when you go to work, when you sit at the coffee shop, when you're at home, when you're with your family, everywhere you go, you are the light of the world because of what you carry in Jesus. He says, whoever follows me doesn't walk in darkness. If you're a follower of Jesus, guess what? Everywhere you go, light gets pushed back. If we turn off this light over here, I'm not going to try to turn it off. You turn it off, all of a sudden there will be a little bit of darkness around it. As soon as you turn it on, all of a sudden the light is, look at you. When the light comes on, darkness is always pushed back. And Jesus says, you are the light of the world. And I was thinking this week about this. If we know what darkness feels like and what being in light feels like, and all the things that I feel when I'm in the light, like I can see what's in front of me. I feel peace because I know what's going around. I know how to take the next step. I'm not going to smash into a couch and roll over it. All the things that I feel when I'm in the light are all the things the world desperately needs me to be in it. Like, I can go into my workplace that feels really chaotic, and because of Jesus, I can bring peace. Think about that. I can go into the schools, and where everything feels like it's dark and ugly, I can go in there, and I can do what only I can do. Because of what Jesus did in me, I can go into dark places, and I can bring exactly what it needs. How selfish would it be to not do that? If I carry all the good things that the world needs, if because of what Jesus did in me, I can do what the world needs in those moments, how selfish would it be? Jesus says, who lights a lamp? Who lights a lamp and then puts a basket over it? Why would you do that? You light the lamp because we want the lamp to illuminate everything around it. We use the light on purpose. Why would we light a lamp and then cover it up? And you and I get to be light in the world. How do we do it? He says it in verse 16. In that same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. Matthew says, it is what we do in the world that matters. It's not actually what we say. He doesn't say, in the same way, let your light shine before others so they may see and hear what you say. He says, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. It is not what we say. It is what we do. It is actions we take. Words matter, but what we do as we go into the world matters immensely. And I love that Matthew gives us something concrete that we can do. He doesn't say, like, go be the light of the world and figure it out all on your own. He says, this is how you can do that, which is why I love camp so much. We're going to talk for a second about camp. What God has done through this camp over the last 25 years is incredible. And it's taken thousands of people that have all let their actions bring light. I could tell you story after story. In this room at teen camp, God doing things that I cannot fathom him doing. It's incredible what God's done. I can tell you things that he's done through the Long family. When I came here the first time, they both had other jobs, and they were doing this and camp and all the other crazy things. And now even what God's doing in it, look around the room. Like, it's incredible to see what God's done. And the reason that he's been able to do it, the reason that we've seen the gospel move forward in Enniscorthy, the reason that we're seeing this room be full like it is because people caught hold of the reality that I can go into dark places and I can be light. Let your light shine before others so they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. You can carry that. And often we read Scripture and we read it in the context of somebody else. I need you to look at me. If you've said yes to Jesus, I don't care if you said yes to Jesus when you walked in the doors. If you've said yes to Jesus, he says, I am the light of the world. And those who follow me no longer walk in darkness. They walk in the light of life. That means that if you've said yes to Jesus, I don't care what you have going on tomorrow or next week, you get to be light in those places, in every single one of them. And here's what's awesome. I'm a visual person. So we're going to visualize what it would look like if every one of us caught hold of this, okay? Not just one random person in here, but everyone caught this. So I need somebody in the back. Let's see. Molly, come stand like in that middle aisle. You knew I was calling on you. Just like right there. Okay. So this is Molly, Luann, Lee. Love you, Malls. That was unnecessary. I'm sorry. And Damien, you stand up. Okay, so these two I've gotten to walk in a relationship with for a long time. They've meant a lot to me. So let's say over the years that I have allowed the light that I carry to impact you, okay? So you've been impacted. Just you, only you two, no one else. Then let's say you have an impact on two people. So you tap two people on the shoulders. It doesn't matter. Anyone around you. Tap two people. There you go. Okay, so if they tapped you on the shoulder, stand up. And this is going to be a group project, okay? So now, my little light impacted these two, but then they impacted two people. So now, if you're standing up, I want you to tap somebody else on the shoulder. And then if you get tapped, you stand up, okay? So if you're standing up, tap somebody on the shoulder. You have to do it. This is a group participation project. It only works. If you get tapped on the shoulder, stand up. And now just keep going. As you get tapped on the shoulder, tap somebody else on the shoulder. And stand up when you get tapped on the shoulder. Just tap two, though. Only two. Okay, so we took, I think if Hervey sat on it, surely I could stand on it, right? I'm not saying you're big, I'm just saying it felt like it felt like that worked. It took us 20 seconds to impact every person in the room by one person tapping two people on the shoulders. 20 seconds is how long it took. Think about how crazy that is. In 20 seconds, we touched however many people are in here, much people. We touched them in 20 seconds by every person impacting 2 people. Now so you can sit down. Thank you for participating in my project. Now take what was said in Matthew. Take what Jesus said in Matthew. And let's put it in the context of what we just saw. You are the light of the world. Wherever you go, if you impacted 2 people, and those 2 impact 2 people. And what's cool, when you walk in this and you let this be the way you live your life, it's never just 2. I use 2 because that's just fun to show how fast even 2 is. But when you impact 1, so like Molly, I'll use her as an example. I love Molly. I've gotten to be in her life for a long time. So I impacted Molly's life. I think I can say that fairly. Sometimes positively, sometimes negatively, but Molly then has gone on, and Molly has led hundreds of kids in our student ministry over the years. She has impacted not 2, but hundreds, just by taking the light that Jesus gave her and going into the places that she is and being light. You can have an eternal impact. What I loved when I walked in today and saw that Bless Wexford thing, because that is, if we would just grab hold of this, that you are the light of the world, and you can go into the dark places, even in Enniscorthy, even in Wexford, and you can carry light found only in Jesus and bring it to a place that is desperate for everything Jesus has, everything that he offers. You can carry that into those places. You have that ability. More than that, if you said yes to Jesus, you have that calling on your life, not just to receive Jesus. That's great, and that's the first thing. But once you've received him, who lights a lamp and covers it up with a basket? No, they put it on a stand so that the whole house can see it. That is who you are. If you are a Jesus follower, that is what you can do and what you can be. All right, I'm going to pray for us, and then we're going to wrap up. God, we thank you. We thank you for who you are. God, we thank you first and foremost for Jesus. God, for what you did through Jesus on the cross. We thank you that we get to have light. Even in the midst of darkness, we get to have light. God, I ask that you would embolden us this week to say yes, like Randy said, to being a light. At the camp, if that's what we're doing, or if we're doing something else this week, wherever we go, would we carry the light, hope, and peace of Jesus Christ, who has impacted our life? Would we not have a light that we cover up with a basket? But we let that light shine with what we do in every single way. It's in your name we pray. Amen.